This is just the fancy. Oh, this library. Okay, great. You are. You have a quorum.
Interesting, that's fun. I can share the problem.
Yeah.
Oh. Want to just use this one?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Loud. That one might also be on.
Yeah, all right, we are
Let's do it.
triple mic. Make sure no one's in the wrong Zoom meeting. No one's in the wrong Zoom meeting, so I'm gonna close out of that one. Get into the right one. And if you want to call the meeting to order.
Meetings in order. Let's look at the agenda review. Does anyone have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Oh, your mic's not on. Oh. Okay.
Recording in progress.
The meeting is called to order. We're doing the agenda review. Does anyone have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm not seeing any hands, so we can move on to privilege of the floor. No. Okay, she said no. No one has anything for privilege of the floor. All right.
That is raised.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I just would like to say, David, I'll see you in Geneva on April 8th next year for the total eclipse.
All right, we're getting ready for the traffic already.
I booked an overnight room in Batavia, which is 2 minutes, some 20 seconds longer for the totality.
Okay, so is no one for privilege of the floor? Okay, so has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Then I have a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second? Okay. And we need to vote,
Yes, I'm sorry, we don't have Cindy, so.
so you're having to type.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Yes,
Yes,
make it easy.
Excellent.
okay. Leslie, do you have something to share with us from the town board liaison report?
Just a couple of things. Okay, I remind people of the market on Friday. If you haven't come, you should come. At the fire station from 4 to 7. Fire guys have been making hot dogs and hamburgers, and anyway, it's fun. Let's see, trying to think of things that aren't in the newsletter that I know we all read. Paul Hansen's been appointed to fill the town board vacancy. So did that.
Is your mic on, Ted? Is
Oh, sorry. And tomorrow, I assume everybody's coming at 5 o'clock to do a celebration of David here at Town Hall. To kick off the town board meeting. And I don't know if it's been on anybody's radar or anybody's heard about the large event that's going to be happening in Danby. I think the last weekend of the month. The folks who used to do the, I think it was the BBQ music event on Agart Road in Trumansburg, is going to be doing it on South Danby Road at 153. We'll probably be talking about it tomorrow at the board meeting. There's a potential for, the last Agart event, I think they had 2,000 people. So it's a dilemma. I think it's an event needing a use variance. But we'll see how the discussion goes tomorrow. The person who's putting it on said he would tone it down and remove it from, the internet, so you can't buy tickets, but before coming here, and he said he'd do that last Friday. I could still buy tickets right now. And there'll be like 20 bands and food trucks and stuff. But I think, it does bring up issues that the planning board might be interested in participating in discussions around. Maybe the need to tweak the zoning to deal with special events. A couple of people have talked about, having people get permits or, allowed with site plan review or whatever, but I'm not sure how the discussion will go tomorrow, but you'll hear more if you don't hear the music on that weekend.
Thank you, Leslie. Okay, and so I think we have one thing on the agenda as a continuation.
That's right. So the one application we have to review tonight is 548 Troy Road. The subdivision, we got a brief glimpse of it last time, but there hadn't been time to advertise the public hearing. So we're going to have the public hearing. This is a subdivision that has been approved in the past, but wasn't filed timely. It was approved 13 years ago. So it needs to go through the process again in order to be approved. In the past, it got a variance because it was deficient in frontage. The current zoning, it's not deficient in frontage, but it does have one small lot and one large lot, which necessitates review as a cluster subdivision. Again, it doesn't allow any greater density than would be allowed without cluster. And we looked at the lot lines, and the board didn't have any issues with them last time, but we can open the public hearing and then we can look at seeker.
Okay. So the public hearing is open. Do you have any comments?
See Jeff Stefanski?
Hi there. We live right next door to John Augustine, and we were just curious about if you had like a layout of what the subdivision was gonna look like as far as the 6 acres versus the 36 acres, and where the driveways would be to have access to that, like if any of that was gonna be landlocked, and if what was the purpose of him doing that? Like, is he selling, moving? Do we know any of those details? Just curious.
Yeah, so I will put up on the screen in just a moment a scan of the map. Let's see. Yeah. All right, so the parcel goes back farther than this, but what the subdivision does is it creates a lot around the existing house that's 6.5 acres, and then reserves the rest as a separate parcel. My understanding is that the applicant doesn't have any current plans to build anything else on it. They just want to be able to sell the house separately and keep the land for hunting and other open space uses. Of course, they could put a house on it because you can put a house on any lot in the town, in the future. Does that answer your question, Jess?
Yep, thank you for putting up the visual.
No problem. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for the public hearing? Hey, Ted, let me ask you to unmute. Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, just a question that was raised by what you just said. When you surely every lot, as you said, in that was existing in Danby before the new zoning has a right to build. And this one sure looks like it's big enough anyway. But let's say that it was a 12 being divided into a 6 and a 6 in a 10-acre zone. Would that second 6 still have a right? You know, is it because it existed? And does that right to build go away when it's divided, when the lot lines are changed? Just curious.
Sure, I can answer that. Oh, sorry, I unmuted the wrong one. I can answer that. The answer is, if you had a 12-acre lot and you wanted to divide it into a 6 and 6, you would have to have an area variance because you would be deficient in lot size. Assuming you got the area variance, it'd be a big area variance because the minimum lot size is 10 acres. But assuming you got it, then yes, you would be able to put a house on each of those.
Let's say my 12 was badly chosen. Let's say it was 16 and a half. So what I'm getting at, does the remaining lot have a right to build because it was part of a lot that had a right to build in the first place? Or is that, you know, does that get lost when it's subdivided?
The creation of a new lot would come with the right to build.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? No.
Yep, that's it, who's on. Well, actually, someone named Jim is on, but this is kind of last chance to chime in. Jim, I can't see if you're putting your hand up because your video's not on, but if you have something to say.
We're good. He's good. He doesn't have anything to say.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Then we can close the public hearing.
He's been on. He's been on. Okay, all right. So if we're done with the public hearing, we need to close it, right?
Yes,
And then do the secret.
that's right. So you have in front of you the seeker part 1. And gonna put on the screen a part 2 that we can fill out. So looking over the part 1, just things that are worth noting. There is a water body on the site, but the proposal doesn't do anything to it. And it didn't trigger any other concerns about habitat or other things that we would need to be worried about.
The box for SHPO is checked, yes. Part 1. The 12B.
Oh,
Don't know if that's real or if it was a mistake.
let's pull up the EAF mapper.
I think I know the answer.
So those are generally a big buffer, and it really only comes into concern if there's a ground disturbance.
We in Zoomland have no audio.
Oh, we're just not saying anything, Joel.
Oh,
We're being momentarily quiet.
And momentarily frozen too.
Mesmerizing.
Slow getting this up.
Sorry.
No problem. Appreciate your thoroughness. So, and this on. Yeah,
It's one after the one of these.
we've got that on. Oh, argument. There we go.
Okay.
So I'm guessing there's this house that is triggered. Oh, there we go. This buffer area from something up here. So it's the very back of the parcel that falls within this buffer of something that they believe happened. Okay. All right, so let's look at the part 2, unless we have any other questions about the part 1. All right, part 2, we have all 11 questions. So will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning? No. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? Yeah, well, we'll go through it and see if I need to clarify. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? Will the proposed action have an impact on a CEA, which we don't have? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walking?
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation?
No.
Now, what's the one thing noted in the part 1 is that this isn't proposing any construction, but the town has the stretch code, so any construction that did happen would exceed the state energy code, assuming it was permitted. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water or wastewater treatment? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater? Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage? And will the proposed action create a hazards to environmental resources or human health? So open another window. Right, do you want to say anything about why we're finding that there are no impacts? Anything that's small?
Small, technical construction proposed.
Really doesn't differ the use, some of it already. in it.
What is in question one when it says material conflict? What does that mean exactly?
Material conflict with an adopted land use plan.
Yeah.
So that's in,
It's part, it's
It's
part
number-
one, part two, question one.
oh. So if, for example, we have our comprehensive plan that says, like, we want density in the hamlets, and we want to generally keep the other parts of the town lower density. If this was in significant conflict with that, like, you know, putting an apartment building where we have low density, or we're doing a really low density thing in the middle of the hamlet, you could say that that was in conflict. That works. And now we need a motion. Sounds like we're heading towards that. Based on the information and analysis above and the supporting documentation of the application, the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse impact.
Okay, I'll make a motion for that.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
Favor?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have completed seeker with a neg deck, and we can move on to the application itself, which is an application for subdivision. You want to have discussion or move to directly to a vote?
I'm making a motion.
Yeah, I think it's really straightforward.
We talked about it last meeting.
Then document on the screen, and we can fill it out. Hmm, 2023, who's gonna move?
I'll motion.
I'm 2 out of 3. Somebody else out of 3.
Okay, a second. And Colleen, are you motioning to approve the final subdivision approval? Alright. Any conditions? No conditions. Okay, so we have moved by Colleen and seconded by, oh, moved by Kelly, sorry. Moved by Kelly.
Yeah, I have it right.
And seconded by Jody.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. I have the list here, so we can even do a roll call relatively easy. Of course, it's not in alphabetical order, but you can bear with me. Ed, we're ready to vote on the first one. Do you want, have any discussion before we jump in?
Is it the one from last?
Yes,
Okay.
548 Troy Road.
Okay.
Then Bergman,
Yeah.
Cowan,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes,
Fanucci,
yes.
Scriber.
Yes.
Strike along.
You look a lot like our past. Okay. Lovely.
Yeah. Oh, we have a lot on here. All right. That is finished. Congratulations, John. We'll need to sign your paperwork. What's that?
Can I ask you a couple questions?
Absolutely. Come up to the mic.
Here,
Okay.
what you were saying, is it pretty much the same as the original one?
Yes.
Okay. Second of all, I don't know if you want to change it. The remaining acreage is about almost 50 acres.
Okay.
So taking in six, I think it's 56, 57 acres total.
Okay.
So taking 6 acres out is the left about 49 acres.
Okay.
Okay.
We went from what was on the survey, but
Okay.
yeah. And we can sign, we'll have Jody sign that, so they will take it to the
Yeah.
town. Yes.
Okay.
And, yep. The next thing on the agenda is a report from me, which
Yes.
I don't have a report, except that it's been lovely. Gonna miss you guys. Appreciate working with you all. And you have one more that has a raised here. We'll need to keep going. There you go. Great. Okay. So Jody, don't leave without signing these and other paperwork, but yeah, I don't have a lot to report because I haven't been doing very much this month because I've been gone. I've had some good meetings with Greg, your new future planner. He will be at an event tomorrow night here at 5 if you want to meet him or come say goodbye before the town board meeting. But I just want to say that I really appreciated working with all of you. I think this board's in a really good place. I think, I know I haven't done anything perfect throughout this, but I've enjoyed I think we've taken with him to a next step, and there's more steps to take, but it's going well. Thank you all for being here.
Agree. I mean, I feel like we've brought a level of consistency and order, and it's been really helpful.
You got a lot done.
We got
You did a lot.
I think so.
yeah, and some really neat things like getting some of the grants.
Yeah.
There's a big thing with the people that need help on the houses. I mean, those are all really two neat things for a little group here in the town. So
Yeah.
it's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
We close the meeting?
Oh, Joel has a thing.
Buddy, Rick?
Yeah.
Joel.
Well,
Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, one thing that wasn't mentioned tonight that I think is worth bringing to the board's attention is that tomorrow night, Tim Steed of Hunt Engineering, engineers, architects, and surveyors, who's the principal in fulfilling a grant that we got, in large part through his auspices, to look at our options for dealing with wastewater in the hamlets, in particular. And as you know, in order to have hamlet density, we have to do something to enable shared systems, because the health department minimum without it is not at a hamlet density. It's an acre, which is not, there's nothing like that. There's nothing hamlet-like about that. So he'll be, he has a meeting at 5 in Owego, but he expects that he can get to Danby by 6:45 or 7. So if you're going to come for the Thanksgiving celebration for David tomorrow and meet Greg, it would also be an opportunity, if you hung around a little bit, to hear the gist of what the preliminary engineering report has in it regarding options for addressing this critical issue.
Joel, will the report itself be available to the public online? Perhaps?
I hadn't thought about it, but I could try. I can make it available.
Please do.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Close out the meeting.